Before we get into this episode, there's something that might be of interest that I wanted to tell you about. Scene and Heard, who run this podcast, have been asked by Scotland Food and Drink to undertake a strategic review of the Scotland Food and Drink Excellence Awards. Now, these Excellence Awards have been going for almost 20 years and are a huge mainstay of the food and drink sector. But it's time to ensure that they're still relevant. So if you have ever been involved in the Scotland Food and Drink Excellence Awards, or even if you've ever had an opinion about them, we would love for you, please, to complete our survey. So if you go to the On Farm Twitter, which is at @on_farm UK, and click the link in the bio, there will be a tab in there that will take you to the survey, and it should only take you a very short while to complete, but we would be enormously grateful. Hello, thanks for downloading this episode of On Farm.
Welcome to a packed episode of On Farm.
Hi, hello there, it's Farmer Jim here. Just want to say thanks for tuning in and listening to the podcast.
I've wanted to be on this podcast for ages, so I'm really excited that you're now finally here.
I can now see a mini conveyor belt going and a really large tractor just heading right for us at the moment.
Don't worry, we've got the high vis on.
You can see that we've planted hedges along there, and then as we look down towards the River Yugi in the distance there, you can see little bits of woodland and full of native trees and things.
We're all about positivity but realism at the same time. I want us to still be here in 10, 15, 20 years' time when podcasting is totally mainstream.
Then when it comes in to get herself out the sky, she will dangle her legs, wiggle her bum and get herself back into this arena with a beautifully well-timed flight and a fantastic finish. Oh, good girl.
There was this old farmer who came up and he stood at the front of the tent because it's labelled the National Rural Mental Health Forum. He came over and said that he tried to take his life, and he said he walked up the hill with his gun and the dog put his head on his knee, and that's what stopped him.
My name's Rory Robb. I'm an associate of the Whistle Company of Farriers, and I've spent 40 years learning how to shoe horses. The truth of the matter is that you never stop learning.
Thanks to the contributions from the Royal Highland Society and everybody else who's taken part in our podcasts up to now, they have enabled us to gain what's actually quite a powerful position, because we're in the weekly routine for hundreds of farmers. They listen to our podcast, they've got it on auto download, and it's there every Monday morning for them to listen to.
I was not a podcast listener before this all started. It's actually opened up another avenue for people to understand what we do.
We've got a direct line straight to these people.
So on the Saturday morning we had to go out into a ring and stand with this sheep, and then Her Majesty herself came along, which is a big honour to shake hands and meet her like.
And was she as honoured to meet you?
Yes.
Anybody who's listening who has a business or a brand that they think would benefit from sponsoring On Farm or working in association with us like RAS have done, please get in touch. We've got the ability now to share your messages.
We can reach the audiences. You would benefit from having your brand associated with On Farm.
A podcast gives you 35 minutes of depth of content, and I think that's so valuable. So if there's a project story that needs to be told, or a family story that needs to be told, or a product that needs to be described, podcasting can do that in a way that other mediums just simply can't. So I think that's what it's about. It's about telling proper stories in an easily digestible way that everybody can understand and enjoy.
If you are an organisation who wants to reach a rural audience, if you're an organisation, a company, or someone with a story to tell, if you want to get in touch about how you might be involved, please do.
It brings a bit of glamour to the lambing field like you can. Floss! Floss! That damn dog.
Spot on. You want to come home with me? I am patting Floss, probably the most famous dog in Scotland, Jim's beautiful 1-year-old border collie. She's just gorgeous.
Oh no, she's beautiful. As I say, she's a pet first and foremost. But
That is your intention to get her trained up.
yeah, she's very keen. She's mad keen on the sheep. So yeah, more like my girlfriend's uncle. He trains sheepdogs up in Kinlochbervie. And I thought about putting her out, but it's a bit like saying they're at a boot camp, you know.
Yeah,
she might come back like a Vietnam veteran, you know, no fun, you know, just scarred for life. But very good at the sheep. If she doesn't make it a sheepdog game, I'm sure she could play for Scotland. There should be a Scotland Dogs football team. It's great first touch there.
So where are we off to now then?
We'll just go up the hill. The yows have just been getting turnips. I get turnips from Stuart's at Toft Hill. Normally they're into cobs by now. But with it being that bloody wet,
it's been awful, yeah.
It would just be a waste of time giving them cobs unless you could find a really dry bit of ground. So
Do you want me to get the gate?
no,
Sure.
it's a burach here, don't you worry. So this is all the yows. They've all been scanned, but they're not split up yet into their lots. They're actually coming in this weekend to get their pre-lambing jags, and they're looking far better today. Because see, when sheep are wet, especially anything that's a bit thinner and the longer wool, they just look miserable.
Yeah, they just start to look a bit dejected,
but
don't they?
at least up here in this farm, there's a lot of trees surround the farm.
Oh, it's stunning. The views are just amazing.
So that's
well, yeah, almost 360 degrees.
So you're looking south to Perth, and then there's the Tay down there.
Yeah.
That's beautiful flat land down there. A lot of carrots and a lot of carrots growing down there. The basic end of the Sidlaws is pretty much Forfar, you're seeing.
Okay, yes. Yeah.
And then you're seeing a way up. That's basically the start of the Grampian Hills, so you're way up. You're only like 30 miles from Glen Shee here.
Gosh,
to the ski.
Yeah.
So, you know.
So you done any Munro bagging in your time?
No, I'm actually wanting to start that up because now I'm 41 and because we've been to Braemar the last few years and it's just beautiful. And yeah, I was wanting to. I feel there's a lot of Scotland I'd like to see. So
so much, yeah.
Not so much maybe Monroe bagging, but there's some lovely walks. I want to walk. You can walk from Braemar to Aviemore up. It's called the Lara Grew, and
that sounds good. How many miles would that be then?
I think it's like 26 miles or so.
Oh, right,
so
yeah.
You could do it in a day, but there's some bothies you can stay in.
So you're going to have to get one of these backpacks for the baby, aren't you?
Yeah, there's a Tysers in Perth.
Oh yes, there we go. That'll get you sorted.
God, aye. You know, never gig to get all the gear out of there. But yeah, funny you said that. I am actually would like to do a bit more
funny because
walking.
I'm the same age as you, and as soon as I hit 40, it was like I had to like read more books and do more significant stuff. And I don't think I'm ever going to bag all the Munros, but
no,
if I could do 30 or 40 in my life,
absolutely.
I'd be happy. And,
so
I'm no good at
10
maths,
a year. It's only one a month.
Yeah. But then
some
of them are quite challenging to do in the winter because you need enough daylight hours to get all the way up.
And there's some you can do. You can nick 3 or 4 in a day,
like
apparently.
Yeah.
Once you're up that height, you know.
Yes.
Well, you want to get out. It's maybe a bit windy.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about the breeding of these sheep, maybe, if you don't mind.
Yes.
And then
they're all kind of white-faced sheep. We used to traditionally buy Cheviot yows from Laird. Sometimes still do. They would be crossed with Texels, and then we started a few years ago putting a blue-faced Leicester tup to them to get a Cheviot mule, just to get a more prolific mule, and then putting them back to the Texels. I used to run some Suffolk tups as well because Dad, I like the Suffolk, and it's a good. You get a good weighty lamb, but then traditionally don't really keep Suffolk sheep for breeding. You know, it's usually more white-faced sheep. So I kind of binned that. I only got one Suffolk. It's mainly all Texels now, and then we keep the best ewe lambs back for breeding.
And do you like the sheep over the cattle, or you kind
of? A bit of both. I like the sheep. The fact that if you didn't have cattle, you could just about sell your tractor and things and just have a quad bike and I like the sheep that you could basically get away with just having a dog and a stick to an extent, but they're a bloody nightmare too. I mean, especially there's a lot of stress on them this time of year. And there's the odd casualty, or there's always the odd one there's always the odd one with a bad foot. And I've got a foot bath now. That's made a big difference, but. The other reason I like the sheep just now because the trade's flying. Luckily I've kept back some lambs, so I've got finishing lambs in the shed there behind Mum's house where you park the car.
I know, it made me laugh because we recorded an episode at the NFU Scotland AGM a couple of weeks ago, and it's that old kind of adage, like, you know, farmers are never happy. So we spoke to this farmer. Why are you so grumpy? Because I'm grumpy because the sheep price is so high just now. I was like, well, why are you grumpy? It's because I already sold mine.
Yeah.
It was like,
there always seems to be, no matter how good you think you've got your lambs, there's always somebody comes in and gets a higher price. You think, what's he doing? But I enjoy. I would actually love to be more arable. As I say, I got my neighbour in to cut my barley last year, but I'm gonna buy a combine because last year, just with the wet weather, he was struggling to get his own cut, and then by the time I got to mine, some of it was buggered.
You don't always want to have to rely on it.
And any accountant would say, "Oh no, you can't justify having your own combine." But I'm only needing an old 10-footer or something that can work for 3 or 4 days. And folk will laugh at this. They think I'm daft, but I really I enjoy it. I enjoy physically driving a combine, or I'm no more happier when I'm sitting on a plough in the tractor. I would love, as much as I love here in the stock. I would love to have 500 acres of that land down there. You know,
calming ringtone.
It's so annoying. I can phone back. I'll leave a voicemail if it's that desperate.
And I suppose also that is a good opportunity for your mind to churn over when you're driving a plough for several hours and do the diversification job at the same time and get some of that material.
Yeah, totally. You'll see me stopping now and again to stop and write a joke. You know?
Yeah. Is that harder then when you're feeding cattle and stuff because you're kind of busier, so your brain's kind of on the job rather than necessarily thinking about jokes? Feeding
cattle, you can kind of do with you can shut all your brain off a wee bit, you know. So that's when I tend to wander. Like when I'm ploughing, I'm enjoying it that much because I get Spotify on, I get all my tunes and pretend I'm a teenager again. I just tend to just switch off from everything. So in fact, we need music. We'll get a radio in the lambing shed. And after my dad died, I got a radio for the shed just to have some like Ken Bruce or somebody on, you know, just to have
just have that
a bit of noise,
banter.
you know. Because it can be quite quiet at times.
And you're also, I think, really supportive of RSABI as a farm charity as well.
Yes, aye.
Because farming, I guess, you know, you're out and about meeting a lot of people because of your other job, but farming is a pretty lonely occupation if it's your only occupation.
Yeah.
Do you think you would suffer from that if you weren't out and about doing other things?
I don't know. No, it would maybe. No, actually, to be honest, I quite like my own company. Don't tell Morag that, but I do. I'm quite happy on my own at times. See, it suits some farmers quite well, but folk are just different, and folk like going to the market. I mean, you'll see folk go to the market once a week, even if they're not buying or selling, they'll need to get out. I think that's why farm sales are so popular, because there are not so many of them now. Folk don't go just to buy the machinery, but just to catch up with people, and local shows are important. But it's a difficult one, that kind of whole. I know there's been a lot of emphasis in the last 5 or 6 years on mental health and farming. And young farmers did the thing like, are you okay, and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Are we still the highest industry for suicides and things?
I think so. And I think there's too much of a perceived stigma, isn't there, about seeking help, and they're trying to break down that barrier and say, you know, if you're physically unwell, you'd go to the doctor and see about it. But trying to encourage people, if they're feeling as though they've got mental health issues, to go and to speak to somebody, even if it's just first of all, just like you were saying earlier, you know, get the support of your next door neighbour, and then then seek help.
I think there's a difference between being lonely and having company but not being able to talk about it. I think that's the difference, because I mean, I don't know the the figures, and I know it's a bit morbid, but I think there are folk that take their lives, but they haven't been physically lonely. They're working with people that they maybe have family, you know, but they're bottling up. Maybe it is financial pressures, or just they're unwell. And that's the ones you have to watch. Maybe it's the ones you don't notice. I mean, I don't think I make a conscious effort. It's different now because I've got more out living with me, and I've always been fortunate I had mum on the farm, but I think if I wasn't doing my comedy, I try and go and see St Johnstone now and again. It's good for comedy material, and I make an effort. I'm lucky a lot of my best college pals were from here, so I make an effort to meet up in the pub and watch a Scotland game or something now and again, or go around for tea or whatever. And I'm on the PER show committee. It's even just something like that. It's like Saturday night we've got it's our director's dinner, so I think I would value a lot of these things more. But
yeah, absolutely, to socialise and see people and share experiences. Yeah.
The thing about the comedy, it's something completely different, because farmers are, they're only happy, I suppose, when they're meeting other farmers and talking about farming, but the likes of the comedy is something completely different, and I absolutely loved going down to like perform at the Glasgow Stand on a Saturday night, because it'd be packed and there was an atmosphere. It was just something completely different, you know.
And how do you think the urban audience take to some of the farming comedy?
Fine, I think, because obviously you want to go for the mass market, although without the rural things are very much my roots, and the kind of core, and that's why maybe I'm a bit different than your skinny jean comedian. But at the same time, you're wanting to try and track. I would love to be able to entertain loads of folk. I mean, yeah. So it's just trying to find a balance that majority of folk. It's trying to retain that thing about being authentic, and using growing up in the rural Scotland as your kind of base, but at the same time you don't want to be as narrow-minded for you only folk in Perthshire are going to get it. You know, you want to expand. So I would like to think I could entertain any audience. But Glasgow actually has a huge kind of Highlands and Islands, and because traditionally folk would leave the Highlands and Islands and go to Glasgow. But nowadays, you know, the student thing and all the rest of it, because it's so big. So the Central Belt's so big. So even if you're only appealing to maybe 10% of that crowd, they're going to come and see you. That's still a hell of a folk.
Yeah. Oh God, isn't it? Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So what do you think? Obviously, life will change a wee bit in July when you become a dad.
Yeah.
But even kind of taking that into account, what do you think your kind of long-term comedy ambitions are?
Well, we're hopefully going to get a pilot episode of The Farm. That's the thing on iPlayer.
I heard a rumour about that. Yes.
So we're just waiting on the BBC giving us the go-ahead. Chris Forbes, who I write it with, we've kind of got a kind of rough pilot script there ready to go if we get the go-ahead. But the important thing is to keep my farm diaries going out every couple of months, because that keeps you out there. And I should say that if it hadn't been for that, there's no way I could have done a big tour like last year. That's really helped me massively get my stuff out there. So so keep doing that. Just trying to write a new hour and a half for taking on tour next year. Do a big tour of Scotland next year, I think, and just keep, I'm very fortunate I'm breaking the news. There's 2-3 other things coming through, so this whole thing might just be a bit of a fad now, or a fashion. So 5 years down the line, everyone might want a change, or I might be wanting a change, so I don't know.
Who knows? Yeah, it's hard to predict.
Let's just have a kick at the ball now and see where we can take it. And if not, I'm not worried, because I don't think I want to be in my mid-50s trying to break through. I'm I'm only 41 just now. I know it'll be different once Babby comes along, but it's no different than trying to look after suckler cows and 400 sheep. So,
exactly. Need fed every day. Yeah.
And as long as I can just try to write new material and have an appetite and a desire to do it, I'll keep doing it. But the farm will always be behind me.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
And I guess with the comedy, if there ever gets a point where you think, oh, do you know what, I'm not really enjoying this anymore, then you can just pull the plug. You know, it's all in your control, isn't it?
Yes, aye, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, folk ask me if I not went down south or that yet. I mean, the furthest south I went is Newcastle. It's just maybe the time thing, and I would need to get better organised, and it would need to be worthwhile us doing that. But the ultimate step would be to get noticed or something for like going on live at Apollo or something like that, you know. But that's a different type. I don't know if I don't think I'm broad enough for that. I don't know, but. Just now, I'm very happy with where we're going, and the tour last year was just phenomenal. So we'll just see what the crack is.
Yeah, no boundaries and no limitations, but also maybe no expectations. So you just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah, I mean, I think
you enjoy.
If I was just to focus solely on my comedy, I think I'd get quite down. Well, not down, but I think it would scunner me. It would totally scunner me if that's all I had to do. It was just gig and gig and gig. It's all right if you're selling out the thousands, but I'm quite happy farming, and I know that, and this might sound a bit big-headed, but I'm relatively confident to know that as long as I've got a good show for next year, that I would be able to maybe, you know, do Aberdeen and Inverness and Perth and Edinburgh and places like that. And
it's interesting. I'm Scottish, but I don't sound it because I grew up in England. But I've noticed, and tell me to shut up if you don't want to answer this, quite a few times today you've said, oh, I don't want to sound big-headed, but you're very humble and modest, and I think it's a Scottish trait to be humble, even if you were selling out gigs at, you know, live at the Apollo or whatever, you'd be like, well, yeah, but I don't want to, you know, I don't want to be big-headed. People should be proud of their achievements. Yeah, don't be modest. Arrogant, I know, you know they are, and I just find that everybody, particularly in rural Scotland, is so modest about what they've done. If you'd said what you'd said without the preface of, I don't want to sound big-headed, but...
I think you just don't want folks saying, oh, God.
No.
Who does he think he is?
And they don't, and they probably wouldn't, but everyone always worries about that.
I heard this, I listened to Radio Scotland once, and I think it had been a guy that, I don't know what he'd been good at. I think he was the World Highland Games champion or something. Say he was like the World Caber tossing guy or something. But his daily job was he worked in a builder's site, and he came away with like a gold medal or something, world champion. But he says that was the best thing for bringing them down to earth back on a Monday morning, just you know, mixing cement.
Exactly. In your case, the animals don't know. They don't know or care how famous you get, do they? You know, even Floss isn't even aware, and they're just still expecting fed and looked after, regardless.
Aye, absolutely.
Regardless of whether you've been on TV the night before or not. Yeah, it's interesting.
Maura gets annoyed because I've been going out for 3 years now, and it's only the last couple of years where things have taken off for me. So folk asked, somebody asked Maura, did you know Jim before he not made it, but before he became successful? Maura was like, no, I knew him when he was shit. You know, I'm not in love with him for his fame and money. She was really annoyed about that.
Stuck it out, and I'm still here.
And she has. She is actually, because you've all to start somewhere. And Maura, bless her, she'd come down and pick her off the train for Inverness on a Friday night, take her to some bloody gig somewhere.
Oh right.
I was maybe getting 50 quid for some men's club somewhere or that, and she stuck with me.
So you knew she was a keeper. She was like dedicated to the cause. Yeah.
You know, so it was nice to finally repair a bit, you know.
Yeah.
Buy her a patio. Her French door.
I don't remember what year it was, but I remember a friend and I came into Edinburgh and watched you during the Fringe at the stand, and Morag was featuring in your set, and we came away, and I said to my friend, I was like, Morag's real.
Yeah, well, especially with that name. Like Morag from Inverness.
And she was like, yeah, I definitely think she's real. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I think maybe it's because exactly that. I was like, you couldn't pick the name and where she's from better if you tried.
She's not real, but no, she's definitely real.
What did all your family members think about it?
Great. Because like Caroline and Claire are quite go-ahead people, and they've got their own businesses. So I was kind of lagging behind a bit. So
Yeah, they've both got their different diversifications,
Yeah.
and now yours is even more unique
Yeah.
than that. Yeah.
So delighted, really delighted for us.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of them actually. They've done well, and they're both
absolutely,
respective
yeah,
things. So
yeah.
we're great. We're quite a close family actually. I'll speak to them once a week or that, or have a blether, you know. So
Yeah.
even though Claire lives up at Fraserburgh, you know, we'll keep in touch and know that they're great. And not at one point, even when I was starting off in the early days, or especially Mum, you know, maybe if there was, I don't know, enough going on here, not at one point did they ever say, actually, what you doing, you know, or is it a bit daft? Or,
They supported right from the beginning.
yeah. I think maybe if I was constantly dying on my arse. And,
Somebody somewhere would have told you if that was happening.
Well, the audience just wouldn't have laughed.
Exactly.
You wouldn't have got booked again. But
Yeah.
I've just been very fortunate.
It reminds me a wee bit of Miranda, you know, obviously Miranda.
Oh, yeah.
Because she's got her on-screen mum. And then quite often she's on TV with her real mum. And I was thinking, when I was watching you, I thought, I wonder how Jim's mum feels about the on-screen mum, whose name I can't remember, but she's the
Annie
granny
Louise
from
Ross.
She's the granny from Katie Moore.
Yes, that's everyone remembers me. She's lovely.
Is she good?
She's lovely,
Has
lovely
your mum
woman.
met her?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because they filmed the farm up here.
I thought I had. Yeah.
So it's
yeah.
great. I don't have to go anywhere. So she's just from Dundee.
Oh, is she? Oh,
So
that's
she
handy.
totally gets that was important.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't want a Glasgow person trying to put on an accent. We wanted somebody that knew about how they talk up here, and so being from Dundee, she knows about going to the berries and all that kind of stuff, and she's great, and she just looks the part. Kinda,
she does,
you know, these old farmers' mothers that are
Yes.
as hard as nails. You know, it's like, I don't know if you remember before Farming Life, about 10 years ago, there was a thing called The Farm. I think it was just called The Farm, actually, and it was a documentary. It was like Farming Life.
Yes, I was a bit involved with that because I was working for the NFU at the time, and we worked with them to find the farmers.
Yeah,
so I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
And I think there's one old mother, I think she's driving the JCB for the guys up clearing gutters and then she's in making the porridge and just these kind of old hardy, you know, and they were all probably brought up milking cows, you know, with no heat. Houses with no central heating.
Oh gosh, hard. They would have had a hard life. Some of them. Yeah.
I mean, we don't know how lucky we've got it. I know we moan about farming, but like my granddad's generation, we'd come out in the morning like this and cut neeps, you know, cut neeps for cattle and things like that, and physically bending down in cold weather and chucking them into, you know.
And no quad bike to go around and check stock. You know, it's,
I mean, I know there was always plenty, you know, labour was cheap and all the rest of it, but God, it was a pretty tough shift, I think, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, even things like stooking corn, you know, go out in the blazing sunshine and it'd be alright if you were on the reaper, you know, behind the horse. That's the fun job. But then you've got the folk having to stook the sheaves and the stalks,
your
scratch you.
Torn to shreds.
And then what happens if it pisses with rain or the
wind?
technology's funny because I always when they first put out the first combine harvesters, they must have thought it was amazing. You know, this machine that can cut and thresh. Some of the early combine harvesters, they didn't have a grain tank on it to fill into a bogie. It was a bagger unit. They would fill these like 200 weight sacks of wheat on the combine and then just drop it off on the field. So then another guy had to come along and lift it off the ground, and all before the rain came.
Yes.
You know, like what? You know, it's just like we're we're bloody lucky. You know.
Oh yeah. In so many
farming,
ways.
yeah.
And even just take Twitter as an example. You know, people are farmers are sharing so much knowledge and information and stats and support, even just through that one example of a social media platform. So if you add all them together, people are so lucky in terms of what they can learn and share with each other just through technology. Yeah. And that's, you know, even before you've got, you know, the GPS on the tractor and this, that, and the other, and all your your nitrogen.
Definitely. It's funny what you're saying about Twitter, because I follow a lot of farmers on Twitter, and some of them are brilliant, and good at fighting their corner and sharing the technical information too, but you can get sucked into it too, and I try and put a funny tweet out now and again, but if you're to sit and scroll, I can see why folk get bogged down and so embroiled in it.
Yeah.
It's that kind of like sticks and stones thing.
Yeah.
You don't take it, folk get, and you see these threads, the debate threads, like I just stay away from all that, and
And it's the same with the Instagram generation, isn't it? Like, people are portraying these perfect lives that have, because it's taken them a week to set up one photo to make everything look like it's ideal. But today, it genuinely is sunny and blue skies.
It's the first day. I think Sunday was a good day. It's the first day the sheep have just been sitting, lying content.
Happy,
and
that must be a good feeling for you.
Yeah. So they're looking quite well, actually. Before this kind of wet, it's only since January it's been really wet. The back end wasn't too bad. There was plenty of grass. They're looking well, but now we'll get them started on the feeding now, and they'll get their jags, and it's the next 6 weeks is crucial for them, really. So
it's kind of
that's when the lamb's
onwards and upwards
most.
now, and when the weather's like this, you start to feel optimism, don't you?
But that's what I said earlier about March. You can get a couple of days like this, and folk get ploughing, and all of a sudden the ground dries out, and it can turn, and you can maybe get some fert on the grass and things. I love this time of year from now on. I love it. We're like a couple of men here.
I'm sure you'll be enjoying this episode because Jim's a really fascinating and interesting guy, but please also go back and have a listen to some of our previous episodes. We've got an interview with Doddy Weir. Jim Smith actually is a passionate supporter of RET, the Royal Highland Education Trust, and they were the subject of our very first podcast. So you go right back to episode 1, you can learn about how they're educating children throughout Scotland about food, farming and the countryside. And we've also got episodes with SAOS and the National Farmers Union Scotland and a host of others. So go back and listen to our previous episodes. Well, I really appreciate your time, Jim.
Oh, no worries.
Thank you. I think people are going to hear the real story behind. Hi. You're just so lovely, aren't you? You're just so lovely. Yes, you are.
Foss has already been... I mean, she's only we've only had a year, actually. And she's been in 2 episodes of The Farm and I Player. And she had a cameo role in the Lorgowrie pantomime.
Oh, amazing. She's the most famous dog in Scotland.
Yeah. She knows it.
She might be getting a big... If you're not, she might be getting a big head.
Oh, she's just a darling.
Everybody knows me. Look at me. Oh, yeah. She does have, in the nicest possible way, she does have a bit of a diva.
Yeah.
A diva look, doesn't she?
Because we've been trying for a dog for years now, But
Thank you again for listening to this episode of the On Farm Podcast. It's been great to have you with us, as always. We're on Twitter if you want to get in touch. That's at @on_farm UK. Also, the first half of our chat with Jim Smith was last week, so do go back and listen to that if you haven't already. And thanks again for joining us.